Hey y'all, it's your girl Sia, and I'm back with another video. Y'all, I'm in a better mood. Had some things to really process and needed to process the conversation that was had today. Um, just because, like I said, it was hard for me to kind of know that that level of conversation was being had about me for reasons that I felt like, again, were not balanced, right? The conversation, again, wasn't very balanced. Uh, Um, I question a lot of the things that were said because Pisces, and I say it's a Pisces thing because only Pisces understand to what extent we really understand what people are saying beyond what they're saying, right? Right. So I'm looking at, again, I'm an analyze do in the workspace was because I knew I was analyzing and breaking down what was said, how it was said, all of that, right? I did not want to unleash the level of emotion that I had. I really broke down today because I don't even know, like, you were experiencing X, Y, and Z. So you're not crazy. Like all of those thoughts really ran through my head and it was a lot. So taking the rest of the day off was very important for me. Just so that I can get my head in the game so I know how to maneuver. I did not know how to maneuver. Like once you tell an employer how you feel, and that employer then acknowledges how you feel and understands how they could have possibly made you feel that way, and that wasn't obviously the way it should have went, right? Um, that's a hard situation to like, because in my mind, it's like, okay, so what do we do? Because again, I'm so used to reacting, I'm so used to quitting, I'm so used to forcing a situation or a door to close. This is the first time where I mean, I guess I could have forced it. I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to go to jail to force it, right? So there's only one or two outcomes in this scenario that are really going to benefit me, right? Which is getting fired and or um what's the word? Finding something else and or building my business, right? So there's only so many solutions that really work in my favor. And I had to go because of how I handled this situation. I felt like it was important to go to what we would consider to be like a good black, right? Because I'm not necessarily, I'm very much a rebel at heart. And my pattern of activity shows that I'm a rebel. Do you understand? So I had to go to someone who I felt like was in the game, who understood how to play the game to get some feedback and advice, right? And so I went to my father and I kind of explained to him a little. Father said was that he's had similar experiences being that he's black, and he's had to supervise like white people, and he knows what that experience is like, right? And so what he told me was basically that conversation meant that the situation was resolved. Okay. Even though mentally in my head, I'm like, it wasn't resolved because I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I've been like I keep telling y'all, my dignity, maybe it's my pride at this point. But a lot of things come into play as a result of the conversation that was had between all of us today. And mentally, knowing that certain things were done as a result of misinformation, it bothers me. Um, and it shows me, like I said, where loyalties lie, who's being honest, who's not being honest, who's out to kind of so-called get me and who's not. Like there's so many thoughts that came with that conversation. I think the average person was supposed to just be like, okay, no, I have to really come to a conclusion that this is what I really like, you know. So after talking to my dad explained to me that he has gone through similar situations, but he's got a lot more experience in the game than I do, right? And so one of the things he told me was to document everything. So I told you guys I started doing that. But I've decided that I'm going to ramp up the level of documentation that I use. So anytime I'm given an attitude by anybody, I mean at any little thing, um, I'm going to report it. I'm going to write it down via email and report it, and I'm going to CC everyone involved. Um, and I can be, you know, again, stick to the facts, stuff like this. My dad said it's not telling, it's reporting. So changing how I look at what it is that I'm doing, right? So that I can do it more effectively. I'm not telling on them. If basically what he was saying is if my job is to get a status from somebody, right? I go to them, I try to get the status, I get the response that they give me, and then I go and report it back if it's negative, right? And just say okay and move on, right? And then two, documenting everything that I do at my job. Okay. And I think that's important again, because part of me feels like the premises behind what happened today, I believe that the intent was try to get me to quit, right? Especially with the level of conversation had, I feel like the intentions were to get me to quit. And I believe that if this doesn't work, it's gonna come back with more. The goalpost for me, if it's not my attitude, then it's gotta be something else, right? And so in order to protect the one thing that they can fire me for, which is my performance, I'm being told to track everything that I do all day long. Keep a log of it. Because again, if it's got to go to a legal situation, I need to be able to cover my butt in all areas. Okay. So I've decided I'm going to create a spreadsheet where I keep a daily log of everything that I do, who I spoke to. Like I'm going to make my log as detailed as possible. Okay. Um, and I think it's important for me to do that to protect myself. I think I'm being put in a position, and I've already started doing this some, right? So some of it, right? And I've been tracking everything, documenting everything as much as possible. But now I'm realizing after this conversation that I definitely need to amp it up. I need to amp it up. At the same time, y'all, I'm going to be looking into another position. But what my dad told me, he said, once I start telling on these people and reporting it back, the manager only has one or two options. They can tell them to get with the program, or they can, you know, really fire them, right? So essentially that's how that works. And I'm gonna do it the good black way, okay? And when I mean good black, it ain't no disrespect, but there's a generation of black people who know how to maneuver in these kinds of spaces. My generation, we be like F that, bro. So this is like the first job that I've had that I'm like, okay, I don't really want to leave that way. I don't want to leave just rage quitting, right? And part of that is because I understand what rage quitting gets me, nothing. You know, at least if I get fired, I got unemployment. So I got time to look for a job. I still got money coming in. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do what I was told to do. And I'm going to try to play this game. Like my dad said, from a management position, if we're looking at a job, I think my emotions were more like, well, don't I get more than just what was said? Like, I feel like because I've been the one dealing with all the back end shit, I should be like rewarded, or like I should have been given like something, right? Something, right? I should have been given more, I guess. I feel like not an award, but like a cookie, something, because I've been dealing with this shit for God knows how long. You know what I mean? So for me, my emotions were like, damn, I deserve more than this shit. Like, really, y'all just been doing this to me off of assumptions and emotions, and I don't get nothing besides, hey, I was gonna fire you, but I'm not gonna fire you. So it's a mental thing, because again, I'm still human. Um, but with that being said, I also recognize that I gotta let things go. I gotta I recognize that when from a management standpoint, this was handled, this was resolved, right? And so I'm learning how, again, companies work and ethics and all that jazz, because again, I never cared about stuff like this. I would just get up and leave. But I've got too much that I've worked too hard for to say, you know what, I'm gonna just rage quit. So reaching out to my dad and really just getting a perspective from someone who's been in the game, who has experienced the same level of disrespect that I had, was helpful. One thing I asked him, I said, well, these people don't respect me, yada yada yada. He said, I don't give a damn if they don't respect me. If they're not paying me, he said, as long as they're paying me, that's all that matters. So meaning that if I gotta be seen as the bad guy, quote unquote, then that's what it is, right? And really bringing my focus back to, hey, you have a job to do. You're hired to do a job. Your job is to do that job, right? And understanding, and I think he was saying what I was saying, that basically your performance, your job, what you were hired for, that's what matters, not the personality, not the culture necessarily, right? So bringing it back to, as long as you're doing your part, that's what counts. So I appreciate having that conversation with him. And it wasn't to like minimize what my experience is, right? Even my dad was like, you shouldn't have had to go through none of that. But I've got to also learn how to play the game, and I got to know how to do it the right way. So that's where I'm at, y'all. I'm gonna be documenting everything. Again, I'm very much about to be isolating, just because I don't feel comfortable. I'm at a space now where it's like, okay, I'm aware of who you guys are, right? And I'm not going to be put in a position where, things are just, if it's got to get down to me recording my experiences with these people, I'm going to start doing it, whatever I need to protect myself. So it's unfortunate that this is where I'm at, but this is where we're at. In the meantime, when I go in, I'm going to smile. Good morning to everybody. If I got a fake compliment, I'm a fake compliment, but that's about as far as that conversation goes. So that's where I'm at, y'all. I'm out. Peace.